Are we live?
We're live.
Oh.
Hey, Tom, my name's Lanny Bird, and we want to welcome you to Midday Roast with Team SI. Midday Roast is just a chance for us to share some of the conversations we have around the office about different topics in digital marketing and technology with our Facebook fans and on our podcast. Today we're talking about B2B marketing and some of the details about it and how we can do B2B marketing using digital channels. But before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Brittany Caldwell. Brittany's a senior account executive for websites, and Pittman Ware. Pittman's a senior account executive with us here at Team SI. Happy to have them with us. This is Brittany's first time on Midday Roast, so Pittman and I promised to take it easy on her today and not ask her the hard questions. But if y'all want to ask her hard questions from the audience, we would encourage you to leave a comment. And we'll make sure Brittany answers all the comment questions today.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
So before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and take a chance, and I'm going to share this on my Facebook page.
Let's do the same.
Log in here to Facebook. It's okay, Brittany.
Is that mandatory?
Not mandatory. You don't have to. I just go in and hit the share now button, just to be honest. And I'll go back in and put some nice little type and text.
I don't know. My friends might get on there.
I know that's the goal, is to get your friends. I mean,
I don't know.
do we get more viewers with Brittany's friends on there or not? That's the question.
Okay.
Cool.
Let's do this.
So, and you know, definitely if you're not watching this live, if you can leave a comment, we'll get back with you if you have a question. Also, if you have a podcast, you can email us, visit our website, teamsi.com, or on Facebook or Twitter at We Are Team SI, and get in touch with us that way. So, B2B marketing.
Yeah.
Pittman, what's the difference between B2B? Well, first of all, B2B is business to business.
Yes.
And B2C is business to consumer. That's the basics. But what's different about talking to a business person rather than a consumer, Pittman?
Yeah, well, with a consumer, you're typically trying to get them to make a one-off purchase or, you know, a quick sales cycle purchase. With a B2B campaign and with, you know, trying to sell B2B services, you're typically talking to a very specific set within a very specific industry, typically. You're also, it's a much longer sales cycle,
Right, yeah.
So you're trying to influence several different decision makers down the campaign. You're trying to get both their intention, make a good impression with your product, and the tactics are just, you know, incredibly different than if we were doing, you know, a B2C campaign trying to get them to buy a meal, buy a truck, buy a newspaper subscription.
Right. And I think the other thing is really in the last 10 years, the B2B has really evolved where the path to purchase has changed, where the timelines have changed across the board, and digital was probably a little bit late adoption for B2B. It definitely hit the consumer market, and it was for a long time, if you're in B2B, I even remember, myself in digital marketing going, well, B2B, I'm not going to work in it. It's too hard, too difficult. When now I know we have great case studies and amazing things we've done in the B2B world. Mm-hmm. So, number one, we talk about specifically the path to purchase for B2B marketing. How has that changed over the last 10 years?
Well, I mean, typically, you know, within the past 10 years, probably if you go back 10 years ago, probably nobody was doing anything, you know, on a digital marketing level, and a lot of it was still driven by, you know, offices full of sales executives trying to get meetings, typically with somebody in the C-suite. All the decision making was typically happening with somebody with a C in front of their title, a COO, a CTO, one of those different C-suite executives. Whereas now, a lot of the decision making, at least on the initial side, is happening with, you know, the VPs, with the mid-level executives.
Yeah, I mean, really a shift from the executives making the decision to a lot of influencers gathering the decision and pushing the information up to the executives, and the influencers are helping eliminate options, determine budget levels and things like that before it's presented to the C-suite. Specifically, a lot of research is being done online, where about 75% research has shown us that about decision makers are about 75% of the way through the decision making process before they even reach out and touch a company. When it used to be, the initial contact was the first time they touched a company, and that really they started gathering research there, where they're doing all this research before. In fact, we have latest research from Google and Forrester shows that B2B researchers do on average 12 searches when making business purchases. So they're making searches, and we know we've talked about in the retail industry the numbers between 17 and 25 on the B2C, but we're really seeing the number grow to the point that really the whole concept of content marketing, and we talk about that a lot on Midday Roast, is really come to the B2B world, and that's what B2B really is, right, Brittany?
Yeah, it is. There, back 10 years ago, we didn't really have the internet, so you were limited to maybe word of mouth or billboards or phone book, and that was your research process. Right. It was a lot harder to pick up the phone and call all of those companies, whereas now you just get on your computer, Google, and you can skim through everything real fast. So that has, definitely changed the path to purchase. I will say that I think that the path to purchase for B2B and B2C are similar in a way. As far as you want to make sure that your website is optimized so that people can find the information they're looking for quickly. Like if you were selling a mill or a truck, you want to make sure you have all of that information, readily available. So when people come to your site, that's what they see. It's the same thing with B2B.
Right, I think it's a lot of the same tactics. We're seeing a lot of dual screen usage in B2B where people are watching TV and they're doing research on their tablet or their phone. We also see, just like in B2C, when we use video in the information advertising process, the ability to close the sale really greatly increases. Same data works for B2B, the same theories. Right. It all works the same. Having a website, having the right information. I would say probably the B2B purchase, I'm going to have even more in-depth information because of the longer sales cycle.
Right.
I would also say for the B2B purchase, I'm not really going to focus on retail and directory listings like I would for a consumer purchase. It's more making sure we have the right information to answer that moment. Again, it's in the moment that we're trying to answer the question.
Right. And you have to be sure to be mobile-minded as well because let's say someone sees your information and sends it to their colleague through email, and this person is in the line at a gas station and they happen to open their email. You want to make sure that your website or your information that you're sending out is mobile-minded as well. So that includes having really clear landing pages, and also it's important to have bite-sized pieces of information so that your people in the discovery phase who may have just heard about your service or product can quickly go through and find out what you're about, and then click, if they want to discover more, they'll be able to.
Yeah, I really like that concept of being mobile-minded with bite-sized information. That's so important. So having a responsive, mobile-friendly campaign doesn't just mean make it where your website shrinks and shows correctly on a phone. It's a different concept to be able to answer those short little questions that I'm going to be able and want to read on my phone, right?
Right, yeah. You just have to, think of when you're looking up something that you're not familiar with, you're not going to read the entire book right away. You're going to want to look for the little pieces of information and then click in or, read more whenever you want to.
Yeah, those three basic points. I mean, like if I'm in a meeting and my phone buzzes, I see I've gotten an email from a colleague. I'm not on my email on my desktop because I've left my desktop back, or my laptop back at my desk. I need to be able to get three clear points of information. If somebody, in my office is saying, hey, we need to look at this software solution or this platform for us, I need to know immediately, okay. And now I can put my phone away and get back to the meeting. And a good mobile experience does that.
Yeah, I also think the other thing that we're really emphasizing with B2B is personalization. So it's using a lot of data, specifically on the website, through website personalization. Why don't you explain how website personalization works?
Well, because we have so many choices today, personalization is very important. It's kind of like with email marketing. Email marketing needs to be very personalized too, which also plays into B2C, but B2B, where you're looking for a certain piece of information, or you have a certain user journey, and maybe the product or service that you're selling to your audience, you may have 5 different user journeys or different target audiences that you're trying to target. So you want to make sure that those target audiences receive the information they want instead of trying to please all of the target audiences at once. So that's where personalization comes into play. If someone is looking for service A you want to make sure that you give them all of the information about service A and not service B, C, D, E.
That's exactly right. And in general, when you're personalized to service A, you know someone's looking for service A. The website's all about service A because of personalization. Our conversion rate, the people who fill out the form in the end, really skyrockets with that.
Right, because they're getting the information they came specifically for, and you're guiding them down the service A path, and then the conversions definitely increase.
And I think the other piece, when you specifically talk about B2B and you talk about conversions, we want to really think of this in the micro level of conversions. Really minimize the bit of information that we're collecting every time. So it may be someone comes to the website one time and they're going to get a white paper. All you do is you ask them for their email address. You don't need their email and their mailing address and a zip code and a phone number and their title and their point in the decision. That's all information we want eventually.
Right.
Right.
But let's just ask them for their email address to start the conversation.
Yeah, I am much more less likely to fill out a form when it sees, my name, my number, my this, and for whatever reason my phone's not autofilling all that. I'm done. I'm out.
Especially when you're in the discovery phase, and like you mentioned earlier, it's just a long path to purchase or path to conversion with B2B. So if you're in the discovery phase, you don't want to ask for their social security number and whatever else it could be. Just a simple email address. Give them some information, personalized, hopefully, to what they came to your website looking for, and they're not only will they get that download or that white paper from you, but then you've also positioned yourself in their minds as if your paper's good, honestly, but as a thought leader, and they'll be much more likely to consider you down the road because you've given them valuable information.
And if you do have a sales team, then your sales team has an awesome follow-up right there. Hey, did you get a chance to read that? What did you think about this idea? Was this helpful for your business?
Right, and what happens with the sales team is it converts where the sales team's out there cold calling all the time, where it's just random leads and their conversions are really low off the calls, to where they're actually dealing with warm leads. People who've already made some discovery and are much further down the path to purchase. So you're really jumping in the middle of the education process and closing the deal instead of having the phone call, the initial conversation, hey, and just striking out most of the time. Huge difference in the sales process when you're using the digital marketing with the funnel. Another important piece when we talk about different forms of advertising and different touch points in that path to purchase is really making sure we have creative continuity along the path. Why don't you tell us what that means, Pittman, creative continuity along the purchase path?
Well, that is basically that our, all the different creative, or, whether that's an ebook, whether that's text on the website, whether or not that's a news, an email blast or a video, that all of that is driving home the same information, that we're using the same descriptive, descriptive language to talk about a product. We're using the same visuals. So, we always use the example of flow, and even though this is a B2C version, but flow for progressive. Everything you see has the same kind of color scheme, it has flow in it, it has the same language usage.
Right.
Because the last thing, especially if somebody's doing a lot of research, they're looking at a lot of different brands or companies with products, and the one that sticks out the most is going to be the one that is as consistent as possible.
Right, and you really want every point along the message where they interact and engage or intersect with your brand to reinforce that. And having that creative consistency along the way reinforces that for every step, every point of the way.
Well, and that goes into user experience too. So if you get an ad with this photo on it, and then you click into a landing page and it's a completely different concept, people could be confused, and that affects their user experience and their flow through your site. The other thing is you want to keep repeating the same strong points over and over throughout your creative and text and everything, is because that increases your frequency of the times that your most important points are heard. So focus there again, especially in the discovery phase, you want people to pay attention to the most important things about your product or service and really drive that into their mind.
Because what do they say, that it's 7 times a person has to hear something before they'll actually remember?
It used to be 3. When I worked in radio, they preached frequency, obviously, and it was 3 times, but that was a long time ago.
That was before we were all ADD.
So
it's 7, So finally, let's talk about data. So Team SI is all about data. we love to take data and use that to figure out your audience. And the data you have on your audience is really important on B2B, especially you want multi-source data. So you want data in your audience from different sources. In fact, surveys tell us when we have multi-source data about our audience, your ability to convert skyrockets to like 70 or 80% when you have data from more than one sources. So tell us, like, typically, how would you use data in a campaign?
Well, I would look at, like you said, multi-source data. So kind of an idea on that is, looking at, okay, we want people who are searching for these, types of software solutions. At the same time, we want to maybe throw on some data where we're targeting people with these specific job titles within these specific industries. And it starts to kind of create like a filter. So only the most relevant leads for our business are the ones that we're actually spending our money, our advertising money on.
And I think it's even the point that we can gather data and take who our current clients are and then build a lookalike audience and say, hey, these people are really good and they work for us and they purchase a lot and they're the highest degree of conversions, and say, okay, let's buy another audience that looks exactly like them with the same data characteristics to see if we can go ahead and really know who we can target because we know who our customers are.
And I think also on top of all the third-party data and behavioral data that we're able to apply in the initial targeting, then another big important piece is your internal data. What the people are doing once they see your ad, when they come into your website, the behavior they're engaging in, how many times they're coming back, and a big thing is going to be remarketing, and then how we remarket to different audiences within our audience based on where they are in the sales cycle.
Yeah, and really with the future with data, what we're going to see is this concept of machine learning or artificial intelligence, where our marketing systems in and of itself can recognize what's the appropriate email to send and send the right email automatically, automatically personalize the website because we know who the user is and what their tendencies are. We can do some of that right now, but our ability to do that is really going to greatly grow over the next five years. To that marketing automation combined with machine learning and the information that we have and know about people's propensity for certain activities is going to really increase our ability to make the conversion faster. And really the companies that can take advantage of that are the ones that are going to win in the next decade on a B2B cycle. And if you're not taking advantage of your data and machine learning, you're going to fall behind, and eventually you're going to stop innovating and you'll die.
Yeah, I saw an interesting revenue number from Google on it. I think it was something like 40.
It's that innovator die, right?
No, you're absolutely right.
But it said that I think 49% of current revenue was, or current revenue in 2020 was going to be essentially stolen by the companies that innovate with AI, assisted marketing from the existing pool.
Right, yeah. So get on the ball. In the next 3 years, you start using machine learning, start taking advantage of that, getting connected with your data, understanding your data, putting it to use so you understand your audience and how they interact with you so you can win.
And you can do this like with Google Analytics. It's totally free. You just need to pay attention to where people are coming to your website and how much time they're spending on certain pages and the bounce rate of the pages that they're on, and tweak things a little bit to see if you can increase the time that they spend on the page and,
Yeah, and some of this is already here. Yeah, it's this is a B2C example, but a department store brand or any clothing store brand, if they know you're on their website and they're cooking you properly, they can see, he's come back 3 times within 2 weeks, without making a purchase. Let's throw him an ad that shows him, 20% off the dress shirt he was looking
at. That's retargeting.
But it's taking retargeting to the next level. It's not just showing them an ad; it's knowing how often they've been here and making a specific offer to them.
And that kind of automation is already here and is available for B2B advertisers.
And definitely, we can put that into place for B2B. Any last comments on B2B before we close today, Pittman or Brittany?
Just the importance of data. Data is what has really made, I think, B2B. As far
it's made
digital
can work in B2B.
Yes, exactly.
It's all about the data.
I think people are always astounded when I say, "Oh, I can actually reach people with these titles and these locations and with these interests," and you already predetermined that. They just.
But it was so important is your message has to be owned. It's got to be something that they want to hear, that they need to hear.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's not a constant sales cycle.
No.
It's an education cycle, and that's how B2B has always been. But don't forget that because of this. You have to educate, you have to increase your frequency where they learn about you and your brand and they're interested in the product you're selling. You can't just say, sign up now and you have to educate them along the way. You can't just think it's the digital and to be able to target them is the panacea for your business and you're going to win that way. You have to educate them.
It's very similar to the same, sales cycle and sales training that they would have been training their sales executives for years about educating, making somebody feel comfortable with it, being a consistent voice in their ear. A lot of that's just happening on your phone screen or in your inbox.
Exactly. Cool. Well, I appreciate everyone joining us today for Midday Roast with Team SI. I hope some of the information we share with you about B2B marketing and data and automation can be useful to you. I want you to know if you need some help with your B2B or B2C business, if you want to know how to put your data to use to personalize your website, to make sure your landing pages and your creative, we have a great team of account executives and product specialists who can help you out with that. You can contact us at We Are Team SI on Facebook or Twitter, or visit our website at teamsi.com, and we'll be happy to put someone in touch with you. Thanks for joining us.